Paranormal Activity. This has been claimed to be one of the best horror films of the decade. It really has. Some of the reviews have been saying, "Will you handle the sensation?" or whatever the tagline was, I think. But so on a Wednesday evening, for example, we decided to go and see the film. Now, the plot of Paranormal Activity is pretty original. It was filmed pretty much to like the Blair Witch Project, which, based on the few scenes I have seen of it, I thought was awful. It just didn't have an interesting premise at all, and it's similar style to Cloverfield, even though I haven't seen that film. But Paranormal Activity stars Mika Sloat and Katie Featherston, as of course Mika and Katie. And what happens is that Katie's been having nightmares or suspected paranormal activity since she was a kid. So what happens, Mika buys a new camera to set up within the household while they're sleeping to see if there's any signs of paranormal activity, hence the title. And what happens is that they end up start seeing these signs, and they're wondering how they're going to stop this before, you know, everything goes out of control and before it's too late. So that's the plot of Paranormal Activity. Now, when I first heard of Paranormal Activity, I didn't think it looked that impressive. It looked different, yes, but it didn't look the most impressive thing I've ever seen. But once these reviews start coming out, and it really is the shit scary movie of the decade, or at least was what I've told, we decided to see it. So what did I think of it? Let's get into that right now. Now, pros about the film. The acting, I've not heard of any of these actors until now, Mika Sloat and Katie Featherston. They were terrific in this movie. They did a really, really phenomenal job of trying to get across to the audience how their characters were feeling throughout each situation, how you could connect with them, and how at the end you really feel sorry for the mess that they've got themselves into. And the character development, and it clearly shows that through the character development and the acting, because as a result of that, we end up caring about each of these characters. So heads up for you actors on that. Another pro about the film. Now, people can ask me, is this movie the holy shit movie of the decade? Not of the decade, but it is a holy shit movie. I have yet to see one horror film that scares me, really. And this, it did have me on the edge of my seat, literally. All I'm going to say is that the ending kind of made me go like this. Whoa, shit! Didn't expect that to happen. Sort of thing. Of course, I didn't actually say that loud in the theatre, but I did kind of say it quietly to myself. Even my friend, who was sitting right next to me, was starting to get scared, and that's very hard for the both of us. You know. So what other things I like about the film? Now, the pacing of this movie is terrific. Maybe it takes a little bit too long to get going at the start, but once it does, once it kicks off, everything is just pretty much brilliant. The length of the movie isn't affecting my enjoyment too much. It wasn't too long, wasn't too short. It's just about the right amount of time, like 86 minutes. And what I loved about it is how this was made for $15,000, and that is hardly anything compared to the likes of Transformers 2 and Spider-Man 2, even though they are great movies. They had a $200 million budget, for example. Avatar had $237 million, you know, and it's amazing how this just looked amazing. You know, it's just a phenomenal feat, and heads up to Oren Pele or something for doing that. He's the director, by the way. I don't know. Other things about the pros about the film, you know, it's a creepy thriller. It's an absolutely creepy thriller. It caught me off guard many times. I never would have. This movie is so unpredictable. That's what I like about this film. It's really unpredictable. You don't know what's coming, and you know, it's not like those typical movies where, you know, like Astro Boy, for example. I can predict how that movie is going to end. You know, it's going to end with him being accepted by many people, etc. You know, it's not a predictable film, and that's why I think it works better as a horror film and a thriller. Now, unfortunately, there have to be some cons about the film. I mean, I didn't love this movie, but I really did like it, and I will get it on DVD if it's in the bargain bucket, of course. But one of the few things I didn't like about the film, first of all, it takes a bit too long to get going. Once the plot goes and it's really good, it's just getting there. That's the problem. What can I say? You know, when it does get into it, you are interested. But before that, it kind of took a bit too long to set up the story. You know, I appreciate that they want to go into develop the audience and invest them into their characters' relationships and give them character development, but you need to move the pace along a little bit quicker. Right, now another issue I've had with the film is the ending. Now, despite the fact the ending did scare me, or at least it did seriously creep me out, I'm pretty much on the verge of scaring, being holy shit scary, but the ending just didn't, well, the version I saw didn't quite fit with the rest of the film. And I've heard that Steven Spielberg influenced this ending, and really I think it would have been a much better ending if it, let's just say, hadn't involved in a sense, or in a possession. That's all I can say. If it hadn't involved that, as to the extent it did in the film, I think it would have been a better made movie. Look, but those are just nitpicks. Look, I didn't love this movie, I didn't think it was fantastic, but I think it's easily a 4 out of 5 stars. Great movie, really enjoyable, and it's definitely a worth seeing. I would seriously recommend it to many people. So that's my review of Paranormal Activity, 4 out of 5 stars. It's a great film, despite a few flaws, you know, but it's still an enjoyable and creepy time out of the movies, I can assure you. If you're gonna see this, if it's still shown in any cinema near you, see it, or else it won't have the same effect if you see it on DVD. So anyway, so that's my review of Paranormal Activity, and until next time, YouTube, the movie buff Michael Bowers, signing.